Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me to Chiang Mai, and thanks for your wonderful hospitality. It's always a pleasure to be back in Chiang Mai. So I'll try to keep within 20 minutes. I'm not an international relations expert. I'm actually a mathematician, but I have the honor of running our international office for 5 years. I'm currently Vice President of Research in our university. So I just give firstly, my talk is divided in a few sections. I'll give a brief overview of my university. Then I'll talk a bit about the curriculum and some of the programs that we have in place, collaboration that we have in place, which is aligned to improving connectivity within ASEAN. Okay. So before that, maybe some of you don't know where Brunei is. We are a very small country, 5,000 square kilometers to be exact. Not that small, we're actually 8 times bigger than Singapore. I always like to say this, 8 times bigger than Singapore in terms of population, in terms of land size, but 10 times smaller in terms of population, which makes us a very, well, it's very less dense. So 80% of the country is covered by pristine rainforest. Population is 430,000. Okay? So there's actually 4 universities in the country. We are the national one and the biggest one. We were established in 1985, 1 year after independence. Okay? So when we started off in 1985, there's only about 180 students. The goal of the university then and now is very different. Then it was mostly, the main aim is to produce teachers for the country. So back then, there's only 2 professions or 3 professions that matters. One is teacher, doctor, and the other one is engineer for oil and gas. So these are the 3 main professions at that time. We have since expanded steadily. At the moment, we have 5,000 students, 500 academic staff. We're very international actually. So half of our colleagues are from all over the country, all over the place. So I think there's about 30 nationalities represented on campus. There's 9 academic faculties, 7 research institutes, and 2 support centers. So what we have done since 2009 is we actually revamped our curriculum. In the past, because we were British protectorate for many years, so they left behind the British education system. As far as university is concerned, it's very major centric. So for example, I do mathematics in UK. So 95% of the modules I take are actually in mathematics. I have little knowledge of what's happening out there, apart from mathematics. So what we did is we actually revamp our curriculum. We make it more broad-based, so it's similar to the American system, more liberal arts style in nature. So it's 4 years. What's interesting here is we try to instill some international perspective in our students. So in the 3rd year is the year out from the university. So they have to leave the university. Some actually chose to go abroad. So in terms of degrees, we have narrowed down from 49 majors to just 5 majors. Okay. So the first year is a common year, so they take modules from all the other faculty. So it's only in the 2nd year that they'll decide their major. So you may ask, why do we do that? The problem is we've realized that, especially in Brunei context, the job market is evolving very fast. A lot of jobs out there have not even been created now. So we're more focused on equipping them with soft skills to be able to survive in the uncertain job environment in Brunei, especially now with the plummeting oil price. Youth unemployment is 8%. It's a record high now. So we actually want to create job creators rather than job seekers amongst our students. Okay, so these are so basically in the 3rd year they have 4 options. Okay? So one is to study abroad in a partner university. I'll talk a bit more about that later. 2nd is incubation. 3rd is internship, whether it's locally or abroad. And 4th is community outreach. So this is actually very exciting for us because for community outreach, for example, this picture on the far right, These are our students teaching English in southern Thailand. Okay, so they've been doing that for many years. So this is some statistics for our discovery here. So as you can see, more than 60% choose ASEAN as a destination. We are fortunate to have the support of ASEAN University Network that actually facilitate the mobility. Okay. So our mobility spans 32 countries, 161 partner universities, including more than 30 from ASEAN, okay, and 86 partner agencies. Okay. So in terms of research, when we first started the university, it was primarily a teaching-intensive university. Okay? The research funding was very, very minimal. But last 5 years, we actually got a significant increase in research funding. Okay? So all these 5 are our key research trusts. Okay? So biodiversity, because 80% of the country is covered by pristine rainforests. Okay? Actually, we're actually more, in terms of density, we're actually more diverse than the Amazon. Okay? So there's a lot of, I remember my colleague told me there's about 1,000 species of trees still unidentified. So biodiversity is a big thing for us. Islamic studies, energy studies, Asian studies, and data analytics. So these are the 4 other key areas. So this picture here is our field study center in a remote part of Brunei. So we regularly receive researchers from all over the place, from ASEAN, from US, from UK. As I said, we are very rich in flora and fauna in Brunei. So these are some of the partners we have. So we have quite a few bilateral agreements, including greater than 30 from the ASEAN region. Okay. So in terms of consortium, we are active member of ASEAN University Network. We are also a founding member of Biodiversity Research Group, so which focus on research on biodiversity. In terms of student mobility, so ASEAN University Network, ASEAN International Mobility, we are a very active member. So we also recently founded the Borneo Study Network. So it's just to study areas that of interest within the Borneo region. So these are some of the programs that we have in place, which I feel actually enhance connectivity. So we have the Master of Public Policy and Management. So this is basically it's basically 12 months in 12 months program, 1 semester in UBD and 1 semester in USA. So there's choices of 4 public policy schools in the States. So what's interesting is that our government actually offer scholarships for ASEAN members. So there's 10 scholarships available. So this has been running since 2013. So most of these are actually meant for diplomats or those officers in middle management. And we also have our Brunei US English Language Enrichment Program for ASEAN. So it's actually officiated by, she was then Secretary of State, Madam Hillary Clinton. She was in Brunei actually 2013 to officiate this program. So it basically comprises of 6 weeks in Brunei, so actually 5 weeks in Brunei and 6 weeks in Hawaii. We recently set up our innovation lab. So this is in collaboration with FPT University in Vietnam. So basically what happened is that they will send in trainers. They will give the students will have a chance to solve real-world industrial problems in this lab. So we also set up our own global center in Vietnam. So this is actually our first overseas campus. So the main target is to teach English. So we actually are quite well known. Our English center is actually quite well known. So for this center itself, the aim is to beef up their English proficiency to IELTS 6.0 or equivalent. So our medical program is actually 3+3. So it's 3 years in Brunei, followed by, it's a matriculation program. So 3 years in a partner medical school in the UK. Of course, we have our regular exchange program. As you can see, our international student program has been gradually increasing, thanks to a few programs that we have put in place. One is actually our customized summer program. So there's actually four components to it. One is one which is very popular actually among Thai students, our intensive English proficiency course. So actually for Brunei, we are quite fortunate because English is still the medium instruction, all the way from elementary school to university. So the level of English proficiency is pretty good in Brunei. So we get a lot of international students coming to take intensive English courses. So it can be 1 month, can be 2 months, can be 3 months. It's all customized according to the needs of the students. We also have a test center for TOEFL in our university for. So we also have our credit-bearing summer program. So basically what they do is they spend 4 weeks in Brunei. It's very Brunei-centric. So they will learn things that is unique about Brunei. So they'll learn about our culture, our tradition, our history, our economy. They also have a chance to live with the indigenous group in Brunei, in the longhouse. So in addition to that, we have created other schemes or activities or programs to enhance connectivity. So for the academic, we actually have our sabbaticals scheme. So this consists of either the writing semester scheme or lab attachment scheme. So a lot of this is actually used by our academics. So they actually spend time in their friends, with their friends in other universities. For lab attachment scheme, the whole idea is that instead of buying the equipment for our researcher, we send our researcher to the equipment. It's a lot cheaper. So some of them actually do their research in University of Hong Kong, Mahido, UM in Malaysia, and so forth. So we also have funding to support the mobility program. So students will actually get funding if they meet the CGPA requirement. So that's why we have quite a big proportion of students doing a mobility program. Of course, we always send our students to cultural and sport activities. We also have a research internship program within the university. So international students will get a chance to work on a research project with our few renowned professors. We also have a regular internship program. As I mentioned earlier, we do have various scholarship schemes to attract international students to come to our university. Thank you very much. That is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul. And any questions from the participants on the floor? You can ask more questions that's which relate to Brunei. It's not only the universities, but Brunei and Darussalam. Okay.
Hello, I'm Assistant Professor Sati from Industrial Administration University.
Sure.
Please use your slides about the research field of energy, right?
Yes, yes.
What is your main interest in your university or as Brunei that focus on energy or materials or something?
Because as you know, Brunei is a primarily oil and gas producing country. So in fact, 95% of our revenue is from oil and gas or related products. So we try to diversify. So we mostly focusing on renewable energy. So we do research on wind energy, also on the material side of things, as far as energy is concerned. So it's this kind of research tends to get more funding from the government. So anything to do with energy, with biodiversity, chances are it's easier to get funding from the government. Thanks.
And such kind of research on topic at school, you have collaboration with a private company in Brunei, university,
yes,
and
yes.
students can share together.
Yes, we do collaborate with some big international company, like for example Shell, Schlumberger. So they do contract research out to us on occasionally.
Thank you.
Yes.
From Chiang University. Have you go back to your abroad year, the 1 year? I just want to know, is it compulsory for every student in the university to go abroad, right?
It's actually not compulsory, but they have to leave the university in the third year. So they can do an internship locally or they can do some kind of community project locally as well. So it's not compulsory to go abroad, but on average about 60 to 70% do go abroad for at least one semester.
Can we go to the proportion of the
Sorry.
that one? Yeah. I have a question. Do you have any research or institutional studies about what's the reason why students choose South Korea? It's like the second largest group of destination that students want to go. And the next question is, do you have any financial support from the university, or students have to solely responsible for their financial support for their abroad here by themselves?
Why South Korea is very simple, K-pop. I think they watch a lot of K-drama, so they always like to go to South Korea.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, Malaysia is reasonable because it's close and it's Muslim country. Indonesia is reasonable, but what about South Korea because it's like the second largest?
Yeah, it's actually the second largest. We do have a lot of partners there. So again, as I said, is the students are fascinated with the Korean culture. As for funding, yes, we do fund our students depending on their CGPA. So the top 5 percentile will get almost full funding. And the rest will get up to about 50-60% funding. Bear in mind, the tuition fees are waived anyway because we send to partner university, so they don't pay tuition fees. So whatever money we give them is to support their living expenses.
Any more questions?
You mentioned biodiversity in Brunei.
Yes.
Is ecotourism something that's starting to happen there?
Yes. Actually, there's one district in Brunei. It's called Tamburam district. So it's it's still covered with pristine rainforest. So the government is trying to promote ecotourism. So there's a whole package. So it's starting to take shape now. Yeah.
Are there any Chinese students in your university?
Oh yes, there's.
How many do you have?
I think for the exchange program we get about 50 to 100 every year, which is actually quite big for a small university like Brunei. So increasingly more and more now. Yeah. So some will come to learn English, some will just take the regular exchange program, and some will come for the 4-week summer program. Yes.
And all the programs conducted in English?
Yes. In fact, in Brunei, in our university, 95% of modules are taught in English. The only faculty that offer courses not in English is Academy Brunei Studies. So it's taught in Malay.
Any more questions? The floor. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Africans.
Thank you very much.
Such a bit moment for to fix our projectors. And from Brunei, we're gonna move to Malaysia. And today is gonna speak by Miss Siti's Rohaya Rahim. She is a lecturer from the faculties of Business and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman. She got a Master of Economics from University of Malaysia, and today she also will give us about the perceptions about the Malaysians and the connectivities to the other countries. this very moment. Okay, please welcome Miss Siti, Rohaya, Rahim. Please give a big applause.
Very good morning to Associate Professor Nisit Patami, Directors of Centers of ASEAN Study, Chiang University, to Dr. Kurtis Dirat Himi, Executive Directors of ASEAN University Network, AUN, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it is an honor for me to join you at this conference at the ASEAN CMU think tank, connecting people to people, far from below ASEAN. So I would like to congratulate the Centers of ASEAN, Chiang University, for hosting this conference, as well as for its generous financial support to the conference. So today I'm delighted to be here to speak on the topic of ASEAN connectivities. So why ASEAN matters? Because ASEAN is the 7th largest economies in the world combined with the GDP with the USDs of 2.4 trillions, and is expected to be rise by more than 10% of the populations to 960 millions by 2020. And recently there are two master plan on the ASEAN connectivities. This is the old version, which is already launched adopted in October 2010 through the Hanoi declarations. But recently we do have the master plans on ASEAN connectivity 2025, which is launched last year, 12 November, at the 31st Summit ASEAN in Pasay, Philippines. What is important of this master plan ASEAN connectivities? It has focused on 5 areas, which is the sustainability infrastructure, digital innovations, logistics, regulatory excellency, and people mobility. So there are 3 pillars of MPAC 2015. The first one is the physical connectivity, second one is the institutional connectivities, and the third one is the people-to-people connectivities. Physical connectivities focusing on transportations, ICT, and energy, whereby the institutional connectivities more emphasizing trade, investment, and the trade liberalizations. Whereas the third one is the people-to-people connectivities. It strives more on the ASEAN tourism and educational programs. So these are among the physical connectivities. They have ASEAN Highway Network, AHN, it's still an ongoing project. ASEAN Singapore Kunming Railways Link, SKRL. They have the maritime transport, inland waterways, air transport, Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline Project, and ICT Master Plan. So for the first physical connectivities, there are a few countries involved in this project. So they have Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Myanmar. However, only the completed project is for the first route, Papat Sisok Pond, and the second, sixth one is Aranya Pratet Koglu, number 1 and number 6. So this is the details of the project. Okay, this is what I mentioned just now. The first one, part of it will be completed, as well as for this one, number 8, which is in April. Others, they already finished with the visible studies, and it's still having ongoing discussions of the project implementations. Okay. So this is the pictures of the roads. Okay, Papat Sisok Pond, Aran Paraguay, Kunglu, and Thailand Cambodia Bridge. For the maritime transport, they have basically 3 routes connecting from Bintun, General Santos. This is the areas of the cover for the BIMP, AGA routes link, and they also have a second route which is from Malacca to Brunei, and the third route which is from Phuket, Penang, and Palau. So the top area is focusing more on the GMS, or the greater Mekong South region of the GMS. So the project has been completed since March 2013. Okay, for the power grid network, very recently they have connected from West Malaysia, Sarawak to Peninsula Malaysia. This is a new power grid network. Okay, so I'm moving on to the second point, which is for the institutional connectivities. There are 10 keys for it. Basically, this institutional connectivities refer to the strategies that are connected to the international and regional agreements. The legal institution mechanism facilitate the international transactions of goods and services and any other appropriate types of investments to move around people across the planet. A few examples here. Basically, institutional connectivities is focusing more on the trade facilitations, shipping, ASEAN single shipping market, ASEAN aviation market, and the agreements of the transport facilitations. And for your info, there are 5 business airports in ASEAN. The first one is the Soekarno-Hatta International Airport, with approximately 63 million passengers throughout the 2017, and it has provided about 185 destinations. Followed by Singapore, Chiang Airport, they with a total passengers of 62 million of the passengers, and with the highest destinations, reach up to the 480 destinations. The third one, the busiest one, is the Chiang Airport, or the Suvarnabhumi Airport of the new Bangkok Airport. So this is the third busiest airport in ASEAN, connecting 326 cities with total flight of 350 million per year. The fourth one would be the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, and the last one is the Nimoy Koimo International Airport, okay, which connecting to 133 cities. So there are agreements on transportations. They have agreements of facilitations on goods in transit, interstate transportations, multimodal transport. For the single aviations, okay, they launched the single aviation market, single shipping, to meet all the increasing cargo demands, okay, for the ASEAN country. So under institutional connectivities, there are also a few free trade agreements, okay, which is all the ASEAN countries have agreed to remove about 99.65% to 0% of the tariff. So we have ASEAN Free Trade Area, ASEAN Japan, ASEAN India Free Trade Area, ASEAN Korea Free Trade Areas, as well as ASEAN Australia New Zealand Free Trade Area. For the ASEAN Single Window, they have already implemented the custom clearance for the shipments, okay, those shipments coming to and departing from the ASEANs, as well as they already having the stock exchange for the 5 ASEANs and the Vietnam's to form the ASEAN Stock Exchange. So this graph basically showing the overall trends of the ASEAN investments from the years 1995 to 2016 in millions of dollars. So we can see that the trends of total intra-ASEAN investment have increases, okay, for almost 24 billion in 2016. So there are several reasons for this upcoming trend. The first one is, of course, it is due to the eliminating of the tariff within the ASEAN, just now that you mentioned, and it also have been driven to the investment, especially in the manufacturing, which is accounted for 8.3 billion, which is doubling for the, and as well as for the investment, which is about 5 billion. As compared to the last or the previous 17 years, the shares of this ASEAN intertrade was only about 30 to 33% of the total ASEAN. There are other factors that influence this increase, the increases of this intra-ASEAN, which is due to the strengthening of the cash holdings of the ASEAN markets. In terms of the FDI, okay, we will see more of the Japanese company invested in ASEAN with the flows rose significantly from 7.8 billion in 2015 to 23.8 billion in 2018. Okay, whereas if we compare for FDI coming from South Korea, they also went into majorities of the sectors, which is in terms in the case of investment. Okay, but from China, the FDI is concentrating in finance, electricity, manufacturing, and real activities. Okay, from Australians, we do have the FDI coming into ASEAN, which is concentrated in finance, with the flows of trade increasing from 518 million to 5.3 billion in 2016. Apart of this, we also have the ASEAN Comprehensive Investment Agreements, whereby this investment try to cover the investment liberalizations, protections, financial facilitations, and promotions. What they have is they try to ensure that the ASEAN pays foreign investors to also achieve the free and open investment if they invest in this company, in these regions. So my next point is on people connecting people to people connectivity, which is the third pillars. If you're talking about the people to people connectivities, they were focusing more on the ASEAN virtual learning sources, visa exemptions and tourism. The education models on ASEAN, which is the curriculum sources, and people mobility. So people mobilities could be due to labels, students, and tourists. Okay. So this is among the ASEAN Visual Learning Resource Center to promote ASEAN through ICT, which is using the technologies, okay, to promote it's about people, ASEAN, okay, the cultural, historical places, and any other interesting place in ASEAN. They use some of the social media, such as Twitter and Facebook, in promoting ASEAN. Okay. So ASEAN also have ASEAN Media Portal, AMP, and ASEAN Initiative and Program, which is to encourage or to educate the youngest people through the e-learning tools, ASEAN Quiz, Infonet. There are several numbers of mutual recognitions that have been signed since December 2005 until 2007. So this is among the agreements, okay, which is engineering, architectures, nursing, tourism, medical practitioners, dental practitioners, accountancy, and then civilian. So others is about the ASEAN University Network. Okay, I believe Dr. Kuding's Indirat, he is expert in this field, but just want to ensure that is it the 30 leading 30? Okay, as for this year, it should be 13 universities involved with this ASEAN University Network. And they do have the AMIS program, which is allowing the ASEAN member state to move around the ASEAN country. This is among the most universities out of the 30. For those students who are interested, you might apply to these universities for the intake. They offer in 1 year for 2 twice. For example, they have the student mobility program in Indonesia, University of Brunei. Okay, they do have the kinds of Sakla University, Thai Union University, the University of Mindanao in Philippines, and also the universities in Japan. Okay, who actively join this program. So how do they measure the people connectivities? There are few metrics that have been set. The first one is by calculating how many people obtain a visa, the online to the online. They will see how many people visiting ASEAN through the tourism website, numbers of intra-ASEAN tourists, inside and outside, and other benchmark. Okay. So this is statistics of the ASEAN tourism as of January of 2018. Okay, we can see the increasing trend from 2006 to 2015, okay, to 2016, okay, for both intra and extra ASEAN. So in total, also they have the increasing numbers. Okay. So this will be measured in terms of thousands of people. So I think I have only 2 minutes left. Other presentations. To support this ASEAN tourism, okay, a few teams, okay, they have promoting, such as the ASEAN tourism homestay, ASEAN tourism, ASEAN Spa, visit ASEAN 50s, ASEAN Clean Tourist City, and ASEAN community-based tourism. But recently they do launch ASEAN Smart City, okay, for this ASEAN tourism. Okay, just want to give you some statistics of the ASEAN tourism. Okay, these tourism sectors in ASEAN already contributes about 135 billion to GDP in 2017, with a growth rate of 4.9% in 2017. But this value, is predicted to be increased by 5.9% in this year. Okay, so total contributions of tourism sectors to the employment is about USD 1.457 billion, for last year. So in conclusions, I would like to recommend a few things for the ASEAN, especially in the tourism and economics. Maybe we can do more tourism promotional events to promote ASEAN. We can try to do more tourism conference and promoting the popular tourism site in ASEAN. From economics perspective, we can try to promote the SME, to reduce the marketing cost, by using the ICT. Try to increase the labor productivities through the technical program, and introduce the new intermediate level skills, for example, science, mathematics, ICT, and the foreign language communications. Okay, that's all for my presentations. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for your presentations. You just draw like graphics how ASEAN members connect to each other, and you also mentioned that ASEAN involved in many economic activities. But for myself, I want to know more about Malaysia. So you just mentioned about the tourism in ASEAN. For myself, if I want to travel to Malaysia, which place do you? Hello. This place that's sorry. Hello, right. So I want to know more about Malaysia because I went to Malaysia just only one time. Yes. Which place do you recommend the tourists to go if they want to travel to Malaysia? Not Brunei, not Batu Cave. Are there any other similar place?
There are many interesting places in Malaysia. For example, in West Malaysia, which is in Sabah state. If you went to Sabah, you can do a lot of you can go to the beach, or some of the islands. Mount climbing at Mount Kinabalu. There is also in Sarawak we do have orang asli village, and like those who are living in the rural areas, and other states is like traditional, you can have a look on the productions of batik for the clothes. and others is like Terengganu and Kelantan and Terengganu for the popular keropok, which is the traditional food or cuisine that you can try.
And I think some of us want to know about the current situations in Malaysia, please.
I'd like to know whether the decision by Prime Minister Mahathir to cancel the high-speed train on the eastern coast of Malaysia have, I think, for us, a bit repercussion, especially for Singapore, which they will like to build a station in Singapore, but no train comes. So what's perspective on this matter? Because as a matter of fact, from Kunming to Singapore, they have to pass through Thailand, which is still a missing link because we continue a bit from Bangkok to Korat it takes time before going to link with Vientiane and down to Malaysia. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm not that sure about that. Okay, probably how do I say? It could be because last time they want to they built the trains from the from connecting from Malaysia to Thailand, and then the broader part is from JB to Singapore. But the recent news, okay, because they want to do some of the budget cut, okay. So I'm not sure whether they still, because currently our government is trying to look in or try to look at which project is the most priority project. So if let's say the project is the most priority, so they are going to continue the project. So the discussion is still ongoing on that part. Is it answering your questions?
So what will be the priority? What's the announced what's the priority? At the moment, it is not the real, then what will be the priority?
I'm not saying that the railway project is not the priority. I'm just saying that they still have to a lot of negotiations before the project has to be implemented, and the government still have to see how much is the cost. Okay, if they want to, for example, continue with the project, and sometimes it must involve with the two sides of the government, Malaysia and as well as the Singapore itself. So that one is the things that we are going to see from what are the decisions made by them, okay, by the government.
I think it's come to the headline news because the coming back of the Prime Minister Mahathir. It's a change on the connectivity because we could not see much of the movement from what he gave a speech about the link in ASEAN. Because right now it seems to me that Malaysia's Prime Minister try to focus on its own economy, try to probably cut or reduce some of things that was happening in the like Najib period.
No, this is true because last time we do have very high levels of the budget, okay, and it's high budget deficit. So the current Prime Minister is trying to solve our financial problem first, and then after what he say, if let's say he managed to reduce the government debt, okay, probably he will take a look on this project, which is the railway project. So this is my opinion for the current situations in my country, because we just have the transitions, political changes, and he tried to fix up whatever, especially in terms of the financials, budget deficit that we were facing currently. So this is the issues that we have in our country.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm from International Accountability Project on the connectivity of infrastructures. I'm just wondering if ASEAN has financing in place, or it might likely be public-private partnerships or other forms of financing, and whether ASEAN has mechanism or any body in place to govern those trans-boundary projects. Because what disaster allowed that part of the GMS, right, and it's a trans-boundary land. Cambodia affected by that, Thailand enjoying electricity for that. I'm just wondering, in your research, if you found any of those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. For the financing aspect, what I've come across is there are few bodies that have funded ASEAN. The first one is the ADB, ASEAN Development Bank, that have given the country to borrow some of the funds to continue with the project. The second one would be the government to government, okay, which giving their own funding, okay, for the project, and this is what I do. But for the private, I'm not sure, okay, whether there is a private company that also involved in funding the ASEAN project, connectivity project. So lacking of the fundings also is one of the barriers from the economics, okay? Because we might have the very comprehensive plan, but if we does not have the funds, so the project will just like that. Any other question?
Any more questions? Okay, my questions will be the last question. So back to the Malaysia's politics. I really want to know why the people in Malaysia still believe in Dr. Mahathir and choose him to be back as a prime minister once again.
Okay, that one is the reason. Okay, could be probably he has more visions and missions. In order to set the countries, okay, which is especially he trying to look more from the people perspective, I mean the citizens of the country, rather than he himself, I mean from his own perspective. But he will do more on the economic developments. He tried to, because the previous year when he was the prime minister, he do a lot of in terms of the investments. Our economy is flourishing. Okay, so we have the good periods of the economics, and we do a lot of private incoming of the FDI inwards and outwards at the times, and we see a lot of improvements. Okay, especially for from the economics, okay, we do see a lot of transitions happen, and I think this is the reason why he win the elections, the current elections. People want to see the company grows, okay, and with that, those kind of things. So making back to the all this time.
Thanks. Thank you very much. And thank you, Miss Siti. Could you please give a big applause to her?